and welcome back to Family Law and More. I'm your host Isabel Hawkins and I'm joined today by Emily Henshaw. We're both barristers here at Unit Chambers and we are delighted to welcome to the podcast today Nikki Potter, who is an alcohol-free performance coach. So welcome to the show, Nikki.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course, and can you just give us a little bit of an introduction as to who you are, the work you do and the clients that you work with?
Absolutely. So yeah, I am Nikki. I'm Nikki Jayne, founder of Nikki Jayne Coaching, Uncork Your Best Self, and I work with people who want to basically make a change to their relationship with alcohol.
Nikki, can I ask how you got into it?
Yes, certainly. So I'll give you a little bit of my backstory. So I'm going to take you right back to about 5 years ago. And we were in lockdown. If you remember, it was an extremely hot lockdown. Started in around March time, didn't it, when the weather was really sunny. And always been a drinker, liked to have a drink on a weekend, a couple of drinks during the week. Lockdown came and we were all working from home, if you remember. Yep. The children were at home. There was no reason that we had to get up the next morning and kind of go into the office. And what became a kind of 6 or 7 o'clock glass of wine then became a 4 or 5 o'clock glass of wine because the sun was out and the trigger was there to have a nice glass of wine in the garden. For a little while, that was all right until it stopped being okay. And I started to realise that it was affecting my performance. So it was affecting how I felt, it was affecting my relationships, and quite frankly, I think I was sick and tired of feeling a little bit sick and tired. So at that point in June of 2020, I made a conscious decision to take a break from alcohol. What was meant to be a 90-day break then is now 5.5 years.
I think that period of time as well was such a pivotal moment for people in terms of their relationship with alcohol. I know personally I found myself sort of in that same scenario because the weather was lovely, there was nothing else to do, and I know with a lot of people who decided to go alcohol free after that period or during that period, but equally a lot of people who found themselves in quite a negative cycle with alcohol use because they just became so used to having a few drinks every single night, and then that became their new normal. And is that something that you found, and clearly personally you found that to be the case, but is that something, a trend that you've seen with your clients as well?
Absolutely, Isabel. So there was a bit of a mix there. You could either go the way that I went, where I felt like I need to take a step back from this and address it because it's not healthy and it's not making me feel good anymore, or my other clients who've gone the other way where it then became the norm to carry on drinking, and because we weren't going out and because we didn't have the social aspect to it and we didn't have to get up for work and all the things that I've talked about, their drinking basically ramped up.
So Nikki, what sort of clients do you work with? What levels of alcohol are they drinking? What sort of professionalisms are they in?
Yeah, sure. So my work is predominantly around what we call middle lane drinkers, okay? So that's people who might drink regularly, might be heavily, might drink during the week, sometimes on the weekends, and that might ramp up at the weekend. So the types of people that I don't work with are specifically people with addiction. They are very specific clients that need resource outside of my remit. So whether that's intervention through rehabilitation or they need sources through their GP, I don't work with people with addiction. But like I say, it's middle lane drinkers, and that could be anybody that you know, okay?
What sort of statistics are you talking about? When you say middle lane drinking, what sort of thing are you referencing?
So it's just basically, there's no necessarily a stat to it, it's just a terminology for anybody that is basically drinking regularly or sometimes heavily.
It's interesting that actually, because the work that Emily and I do, we work with a lot of clients who have a poor relationship with alcohol, and some of those will tip into the addiction side. They will tip into that needing rehabilitation, needing some form of therapy around it. But a lot of them as well, I think, would you agree, Emily, are those middle lane drinkers where you might have a dispute between parents and one of them saying, well, he or she drinks quite a lot. They're still functioning. Yes, they can still, do what they need to do, go to work, do the school run. But actually when they drink, they become a bit nasty, they become argumentative, and it impacts on the children or it impacts on the relationship. And the other side of that as well is working in family law, whether you're a lawyer, social worker, judge, whatever capacity it is. it's very stressful. And I think a lot of professionals also find themselves in that sort of being the middle lane drinker and having one at the end of the night to sort of forget the stresses of the day. So is that the sort of thing that you're talking about?
Absolutely that, Isabel. If you think about the categories that we've got in terms of drinkers, you've got right at the top, non-drinkers, don't even touch the stuff, not really interested in it. And then you've got low risk, so somebody that might drink, and that's men or women that might drink less than 14 units, which is obviously the original government guidelines. Then you've got more risk or hazardous drinking, so that's somebody, for females it's between 14 units and 35, and 14 and 50 for men. Then you've got high risk drinking, so for women anything over 35 units, and for men anything over 50. And then right at the top of that drinking category you've got dependent, and that's the alcohol addiction that we've talked about already. So realistically for me, and sometimes it's not always about the amount that people are drinking, it's the impact that it has on your day-to-day life. So for me, I wasn't drinking that much. You know, it might be a couple of glasses a night, or it might have been one glass a night and then not had anything for a couple of nights, and then the weekend would come and there'd be a few more drinks. But it's the impact it started to have on me as an individual, on my sense of self, my confidence, my relationship. So sometimes I've got to assess that, because people might look like they're in a higher category, that black and white, you'd look at it and think they don't fit my clientele. But realistically, it's understanding where they're at basically, and assessing if they fit the right type of person that I can ultimately work with. But yeah, it's more about impact sometimes than it is purely just on the amount of drinks they have.
Yeah, because it's not a one size fits all, is
Not
it?
at all.
Everyone has a different relationship, and it has a different impact on everybody.
Yeah.
How would you sort of advise that people recognise that they may have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol?
Yeah, so if you think about some of the things that you may do, if you've ever done it, you may have had quite a few drinks one night, and then you find yourself on your mobile phone, am I drinking too much? That might be one of the things that you've Googled. If you have, you're obviously thinking about the issue that your alcohol use is having on your day-to-day life. It may well be that you are spending too much money, more money than you've actually got on alcohol. It may be that you're spending too much time drinking and not doing the things that you should be doing or used to be doing. Like I say, it might be that things that are impacting on your relationships, that might be your partners, it might be the way you're interacting with your children. What does that look like at the minute? Is it that you're waking up in the morning and thinking, actually, I need to have a hair of the dog because to stop the shakes, and how you're feeling? So all of those things are probably things, if you're looking at them and asking yourself the question, then it may well be that you need to kind of think about changing your relationship with alcohol.
And are they questions that you get from potential clients? Do you think I'm a potential candidate to work with? This is my pattern of drinking. This is how I think it impacts my life. Are they questions that potential clients will ask you at the outset?
Yeah, and I think most often than not, they come into me because they're teetering on the edge. They know that they want to make a change, but they're stuck and they're not sure what that change should look like. So it could be that they might just want to change their relationship because they want to go to the gym more and it's impacting on their gym, or it might be a career. They want, they're not getting that next level in the career, or they're turning up late and things like that, and that's the things that are ultimately affecting them. So they will come and say, look, this is my situation, Nikki. Is this something that we can work with? Am I a lost cause? Or, can you help me with this? So, yeah.
And generally, those clients that come to you with those queries, are they looking to reduce their alcohol intake, or are they looking for complete abstinence?
Yeah, Emily, a bit of both. So it could be that they are weekend drinkers, and all of a sudden alcohol has started to kind of come through during the week as well. So what might have been a Friday, Saturday thing has now become a midweek thing, which is exactly what I went through. Or it may well be that they're at a level where they realise that actually I really do need to take a break, and that might be a tactical break. It might be that they want to take a 30-day break. It may well be that they're actually at that level where, do you know what, I need to probably knock this on the head completely. So yeah, it's just about assessing where they're currently at and what it is that they want to do, but there's a mix there.
And it may be an obvious question, but for our listeners, what are some of the main benefits of either going alcohol free or reducing alcohol intake?
Sure. So if we think about the negatives, Isabel, if we look at it from that, sleep, right? Your sleep is massively impacted by alcohol. One of the myths is, I drink because it helps me sleep, okay? You've had a few glasses of wine, the next thing you've gone into a deep sleep, or you think you have. And the reality is, it affects your restorative REM sleep by 20%. So by taking the alcohol away, you're actually then going into your deep sleep and you're feeling refreshed when you wake up the next morning. I'm sure if you've had a few glasses of wine, you wake up the next day and you're feeling a little bit foggy. That's part of the reason why. So then we look at fogginess and clarity. So when you're refreshed and you're feeling good about yourself, your energy levels are up, dopamine levels are up, and you're feeling a lot better about yourself, which then again improves your self-confidence.
And is this something on a personal level that you noticed about yourself when you decided to go alcohol-free?
100%.
Wow.
So I would say day 4 of not having anything to drink was probably my worst day. I'm not going to show you the picture, I might do afterwards, but the 4th day was horrendous. I hadn't slept for several days, and again, I wasn't a big drinker. You've got to think about that. I'm not an alcoholic. Don't fit the criteria of being an alcoholic, but day 4 was hideous and I felt absolutely awful. Going through the first week was really difficult because you're constantly thinking about it, because you know you're doing that tactical break. The more you say, I'm not going to think about having a glass of wine, the more you want a glass of wine, and then it goes into this cycle. So I would say probably for me, it took until realistically about 90 days. They say the magic hits at 100 days, and believe me, it really does. There's a shift that takes everything away, and you just wake up one morning and think, wow, something serious has changed. Like my life has seriously changed for the better. All these things that I talk about, more energy, better sleep, clearer skin, you enhance relationships, being more on target when you're in the office, all these things just seem to come into focus. It's like, imagine if you've been in a dark room and then it's all like speckly, and then you walk outside and the sun shines out and your eyes are wide open. That's what it looks like about the 100-day mark.
Wow. And is that perhaps why people find things like dry January, Stoptober so challenging? Because it's perhaps not long enough and they know they're only doing it for 30 days. I know that I've done dry January before and I did find it quite difficult because I think you're just used to, if you're used to having a drink at the weekend and then you don't, it does feel quite alien. Do you think that that's part of the reason, because it's not actually long enough for your body to adjust? Yeah,
it could be a little bit about it, Isabel, but I think in the reality is when you're going into things like dry January or sober October, you're going in with willpower. Willpower alone, because you don't really want to do it, do you? You think you should do it because you've had a really heavy Christmas, ate too much Christmas pudding, drank too much red wine, port, whatever else it goes with Christmas, and then you think, right, 1st of January, I'm going all out, this is the new year, new me, and off we go. But we're doing it based on willpower alone, and it very, very often does not work. The other reason is around habits. So it takes about 66 days for a new habit to actually kick in. And around day 22 is when most people quit.
Gosh.
So the reality is working with somebody to help you kind of through that 30-day period and having a support network around you will be far better in your interest than it is just to do it purely based on willpower.
It's a complete change of lifestyle, isn't it? Like Isabel said, normally your socialising revolves around going for a drink, having a dinner party. Somebody opens a bottle of wine, so it's changing your whole mindset.
Especially if other people around you are still doing those things.
Absolutely.
And it feels very natural to just partake. Do you have any tips around that of how to sort of stay strong when people around you aren't on the same path?
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. It's not an easy process at the beginning. It's really, really difficult because you are constantly thinking about it, and your brain is wired for that. That's what we look for, isn't it? The social element. Oh, I'm going to go and have a glass of wine or a beer or whatever your drink of choice might be. And what I would say in the beginning is to take yourself out of that environment. You need to do that at the beginning. So don't have any alcohol in the house. If you're normally one that will go and, 6 o'clock comes, 7 o'clock, when you go home and you think, you open the fridge, bottle of wine comes out or beer gets opened, take it out of the house. just for the period of time, because it is a trigger for you to come home. That's a cue. So when we think about things, we have got to think about them in terms of a habit loop. So you have a cue. So that might be 6 o'clock, stressed, come home, okay? Then you've got what happens next. And that's you go to the fridge and you'll pull out a glass of wine or a beer. And then what you're looking for, that's your response. And then the reward is, you sit down and you have that nice beer or that nice glass of wine and you think you're relaxed. So that's your habit loop. But basically what happens is, with that habit loop, the brain takes out some of the bits and then it just automatically says, right, wine, chilled out. Wine, pleasure. And reality is it's stripping out the things that matter in the middle that you can ultimately swap.
So it's breaking that cycle, isn't it? Yeah. And replacing alcohol with something else, isn't it? Like people being more active, going for walks, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. You know, and it is possible. If you like to go out and you're part of your job, we've got lots of people that I work with who are involved in sales. So they talk about the fact that they have to go out and they have to take their clients out and they have to schmooze their clients. But the reality is you can still do that. There are so many alcohol-free alternatives out there nowadays that some of them taste. Guinness Zero as a prime example. Try it if you like Guinness. Yes, it's slightly different in taste, but it is very much tastes like Guinness. Some of the alcohol-free beers now are very much like their alcohol counterparts. The wine's a little bit hit and miss.
Yeah.
Not great.
Some of them are not particularly fantastic. Some of them taste quite vinegary, so I'd maybe skip on the wines. There are a few, but
there's a couple of sparkling wines that I've found, and Prosecco's.
Yeah, the No Secco.
Yeah, they're all
nice. And alcohol-free gin. If you're a gin lover, they're quite nice as well as an alternative. Because sometimes when we go out, we don't want to sit there with our Coca-Cola or our orange juice or our sparkling water. You want to kind of still feel like you're part of something. And so having an alcohol-free alternative, you don't get the questions either then, because people think you're standing there with a glass of something alcoholic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say take the alcohol away out of your house. Try and avoid certain situations that will ultimately require you to potentially have a drink. If you can't do that, have an alternative. Or if you're going in and you don't really want, because some people don't want to take the alcohol-free alternatives because it can be a trigger for them. So they then think that they're having this and it's kind of releasing that adrenaline and they want to go, and that's all part of the routine for them. So I would say have something, a script. What is your script going to be when somebody says to you, what are you having tonight? Because very often if we don't have that script, we then panic and our ultimate natural response will be, glass of white wine, please. Or I'll have a beer, please. So think about what it is that you want to say before you go. And I think finally I'd just say, just think about where you're at, okay? Why you're doing this. There's a lot of things that I say to my clients when we're talking about it right from the start is why. And your why is your biggest anchor. It's the foundation for absolutely everything that we do. Why now do you want to make a change with your relationship with alcohol? And it could be health, it could be your children, it could be your career, it could be religious reasons. There's a multitude of reasons why people want to make a change, but that is absolutely the foundation as to why you're doing it.
So it's the psychology, isn't it, behind the drinking that is what you work with?
Definitely. So my role is very much, I'm not a counsellor, I'm not a therapist, I don't start digging into people's backgrounds, that's not where I am. So it's very much rooted in positive psychology and it's very much solution focused. So we look forward and not back.
And what are the programs that you offer for your clients?
So there's a couple of programs, Isabel. So primarily for individuals, there are 2 programs that I offer. One is a 30-day online program. So clients get access to a members portal. It's completely confidential. It's nothing that's shared with anybody else. But they get access to a members portal where they receive daily videos from me that talk them through everything that I think they should be doing for the day. And that starts off ultimately with why are you here, what it is that you want to achieve. And then each day they'll get a daily video. They'll also get an email that's got lots of information on. It's got tools, it's got resources. There's lots of downloadable collateral that they can ultimately use. There's journal entries, trigger trackers, habit awareness, that kind of thing. So they can access that for 30 days. There's no kind of deadline on that. They can kind of work through that at their own pace. But they will have support from me around that. So that's one, that's called Give It Your Best Shot. And then the second one is more deeper dive one-to-one coaching. So we start off, it's a 6-week program initially, just to get people through that kind of becoming, either reducing their drinking or becoming alcohol free. We do a very deep dive into their ambivalence around drinking, and then we start to move through the program. So we look at strengths and values and how that has an impact on who they are as a person, why they want to do the things that they do. We look at triggers, we look at habits, we look at cravings, we look at their mindset, and we try and shift that with the positive psychology so that they're not thinking about things in a negative way, which very often we look at it, we have a very limiting belief, don't we, about it. Oh, woe is me, I can't go out drinking anymore, this is really horrible, I'm not going to be able to socialise, I'm going to be one of those teetotal people that stays in and doesn't go out. And it's reframing all of that, that you can still do all the things that you do now, just without a drink. So we look at that as well, and then hopefully they go with a bit of an alcohol-free program to move them forward. And then I find usually at the end of 6 weeks, they're very much at a different level where they're saying, well, actually now I don't want to talk to you anymore about my drinking. What I want to do is, there's this promotion that I want at work, and because I'm not drinking now and I've got so much more clarity and energy and focus, can you give me some coaching around how I can kind of get to that next level? Or, I don't know, an example, I want to run 10k. You know, I've not done that. Can you give me some coaching around that now? Because I'm feeling great in the morning. I'm so much more energized. So I do find a very, very strategic shift as we go through that 6-week period.
That must feel quite good when the clients start saying that to you.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I think that this is really valuable actually for practitioners, for themselves, if that's something that they want to engage with, but also for our clients, just going back to what we spoke about earlier in the show. A lot of our clients who are those middle lane drinkers, I think there's a misconception in the courts and in the family law sector that if drinking is raised as a problem, you need to go to sort of a group therapy session, or you need to go to certain agencies and get that support, when actually those agencies aren't designed for that sort of drinker. And actually they won't help them. They'll turn them away. So this is something that I don't see being spoken about in family law. You know, I've gone to an alcohol performance coach, or I'm getting private coaching. And there's also, I think, a belief with a lot of clients that, oh, they're not that type of person. They're not suited to go into a room with loads of alcoholics, or that's not them. And they're not going to thrive in that environment. Whereas actually this might be a lot better suited.
Yeah,
Do you agree, Emily?
Absolutely. And I think that those people might be more open to making some like provisional inquiries. If they think it's something, if we were able to describe to them a middle lane drinker, like you say, they might want to make those queries, mightn't they, about their relationship with alcohol. And one of the questions that I thought of was, if somebody wanted to make those queries, they don't want to engage in any sort of coaching at the outset, but they want to make inquiries. Are there any podcasts or reading material that you could direct them to so that they can find out?
Yeah, there's lots and lots and lots that I have read and I have used and I did in my early days. So I'm not going to give too many tips away, but I think one of the biggest things that I would say, one of the key books that I would absolutely go and read is a book called Alcohol Explained by William Porter. You can get the first 5 chapters for free online as a PDF. There's just a link online. So if anybody went and Googled it now, they could go and read the 5 chapters this afternoon if they wanted to. So that is the main book that I would read. It's a really easy read, but the science that it comes up with and the things that it tells you will absolutely blow your mind. There's a second book that's very more intense. It's a little bit more, it will take a long time to read, and that's called This Naked Mind by Annie Grace, and that's another game changer. So they're 2 really good books that I would take away. Not all my clients like to read, so it's a very different learning journey for them. So there are podcasts out there. The really, really good one, even though they've stopped producing any more content now, they have got season after season after season that you can still go and listen to, and that is called Over the Influence. And that was led by DJ Sharon Hartley, who is on Radio Lancashire. So she hosts that. That's a brilliant one. And There's lots of self-development books as well that people can start to have a look at. But if you wanted something that's a little bit less kind of sciencey, people can resonate a little bit more with, there is The Sober Diaries, which is a fantastic read, and there is The Unexpected Joys of Being Sober. They're more relatable books that you can kind of sit there and think, oh, actually, yeah, that's me. Oh, that's me too. But yeah, there's some of the content that I would point some of my clients to.
Brilliant.
And Nikki, if we had anybody who thought, actually, I want to work with Nikki, I want to try the 90-day initial coaching, how would they contact you?
Yeah, so a couple of ways. I'm on Instagram as Uncork Your Best Self. Alternatively, if you want a bit more of a professional kind of approach, my website is nikkijaynecoaching.com.
Fantastic. And all of that, of course, will be included within the show notes for today's episode. And I think that's probably all we have time for today. So, Nikki, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And for all of our listeners, thank you for joining us again. Please like this video, subscribe, and follow us on social media. See you next time. Thank you.